Chip. Mac, thank you. Did I hear you in the Dave Aranda post-spring game media session when he made a comment about we have some guys that are kind of jovial, unlike me? Did I hear you kind of snicker or giggle?
Kind of like that?
Yes.
Probably. Yes, probably. I think that, quite an accurate statement by Coach Aranda.
How many times when he does a media session or when you are listening to him or talking to him, and I know you guys visit a lot, does he say something where you have to almost wish you could replay it and go back and listen to it again?
Yeah, it's more often than you'd think, just given, the many conversations him and I have. But I appreciate just how genuine he is and transparent with the media at those post game press conferences, and I just appreciate his transparency. I think in general with the media, we, for example, spring practice, we had media out there 14 of the 15 practices, and he's a leader that has nothing to hide, and and he'll let like on the quarterback question that whether or not he feels like he can address it at that point in time and in front of all of you. So I just appreciate him in general and the way he handles all of that.
Mac, there was the alumni cookout barbecue competition that they had in Touchdown Alley, and I know that obviously you always want more fans than almost come to anything unless you completely sold out. How do you feel like you're progressing on making spring football an event, and does that maybe hinge on keeping the same staff there in place that can kind of build what they want spring football to be for a while?
Yeah, I thought this past spring game was really a great step, a big step in the right direction, and proud of our staff, our fan engagement, our marketing communication staff. They worked hard. Appreciate the football staff. They worked hard. The B association worked hard. The connection with the former players. You mentioned the cook-off. Coach Aranda and Dennis Polian, went out and visited with each tent and spent, time and in conversation with everyone. And so, I think it's a good building block for years to come. Obviously, people are more excited when you win and coming off 12 wins, but we can grow it, and it can certainly be bigger and better in the future. But really like what I saw, this time around, and on the sideline we had a lot of former players, and I know that they were grateful to be included in the way they were this past year, and again I think it's a good step in the right direction.
So I guess you kind of partially answered it there, but just how do you kind of feel where the program is now that spring ball has wound down, and now it's, I guess, a bit of a hibernation. I know they're going to still be working a whole lot behind the scenes, but a kind of a hibernation for fans as far as news goes. How do you feel about the position your football program's in defending their championship?
Yeah, I mean, I feel good, but you're always restless. Coach talked about we've got a younger team. I think this period of time right now from this moment up through the start of fall camp is really going to determine how good of a football team we're gonna have. The work, out of the spotlight, the work in the weight room, the work in finishing up the spring semester academically, the work in summer school, all of those little details, make big things happen. And so I think, this period of time that we just entered into is really going to be, I think, a defining moment for this this team. And again, I think it's a collection of just quality young men. Not saying they're perfect, but want to do the right thing and want to play for one another. And so I think there's really good culture within the program, and the coaches are on the same page. And so programs in a really good place, but again, I think we all know and understand that there's so much work to be done, and you always have to have your foot on the gas pedal.
Mack, where are you right now in evaluating? And I know you won't discuss personnel decisions or whatever, but baseball program is struggling. They had a horrible thing happen with Tyler Thomas and his Tommy John. Will Rigney's out for right now as well. They're playing, in fact, this afternoon. But they had a really, really bad weekend at Austin, and UT has themselves been struggling. How are those conversations, or at least your thoughts about Steve Rodriguez and Baylor baseball?
I think, my job right now, along with Chad Jackson, who's the sport program administration, is to really encourage Coach Rodriguez and the staff and our young men. And, I know this. I know that there's no finger pointing going on in the clubhouse. That there's still a lot of fight in the program and our young men, and still competing really, really, really hard. You said it best. This weekend particularly was a tough weekend. I don't think anybody's happy with, including Coach Rodriguez. Starting with Coach Rodriguez, that we're 4-11 in Big 12 play, but he's continuing to coach our kids the very best way that he knows how. I've got great confidence in Coach Rodriguez and that staff. We have a big weekend coming up, hosting Texas Tech, and we've got some different things going on. Friday night fireworks, and on Saturday we'll be honoring the 10th anniversary of the 2012 Big 12 championship team, and so former members will be in attendance, and we've got giveaways going on, whether it's stuffed beavers or it's a Go Gold hat on Saturday. So this is an opportunity for our baseball program to rebound and play hard. And again, I think that it's a team that's very much still together, and we're dealing with some hardship. We're dealing with some hardship of injuries, and a roster that needs to mature.
Mack Rhoades, Director of Athletics at Baylor, with this Sic'Em 365 Radio.
How was celebrating that Big 12 tournament championship for men's tennis?
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm so happy for Coach Woodson, and he did such a great job last year in that interim role, and that's always difficult. I think it's difficult for the team in terms of can we count on this coach being here permanently. I think it's difficult for that individual, for Coach Woodson personally. What is my future, and he handled last year exceptionally well, and then obviously this year has done as good or maybe even a better job, and to be at TCU, in TCU's venue. They're ranked 1, we're ranked 4th, we're the number 2 seed, they're the number 1 seed. To be able to beat them at their place, I just think is really, really special. And that's the third straight now Big 12 championship for our men's tennis program. And so just again proud of Coach Woodson and the staff and our young men.
Mack, there's never a time when we probably can't bring up the transfer portal, NIL or whatever, but on the transfer portal, what is the discussion among ADs, presidents, whoever, about really how it's supposed to work? I know there is a deadline coming up Sunday where an athlete has to be inside the transfer portal to be able to transfer. after that, if someone transfers, then they get a waiver, and most likely, I don't know what the chances are that gets cleared. Is that deadline, I know it's early on, and it's still something new. Is that deadline, you think, going to work?
That's a great question. And I think that, I think it becomes artificial, in a sense, if we're going to continue to grant waivers at the rate at which we're granting waivers. Now, let me be really, really transparent. We've been a benefactor of those waivers. And
sure.
So, but what does the deadline really mean if we continue to grant those waivers? I think the other thing too is, a lot of conversation right now, and you all talked about it before about, transfer portal windows, and it not being open continuously like it is. And how does that impact, the rate at which people are transferring, right now, the first year of the transfer portal, it was about an average of 7 young men transferred out. That has grown to 12. And let me be a little bit more specific. That's an average of 12 per FBS football program. So nationally, when you think about the 120 plus, I don't know if it's 129. I can never remember the exact number. So do transfer portal windows, do they curb that? I don't know. I think that the cross section of name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal has not been good for college athletics. I think most of us would agree with that. It's not what it was intended to be. It's probably less with football, but more with men's basketball out of control. When we think about, the dynamic of those two together and, thinking about, reading about, what happened at the University of Miami with a transfer in Nigel Pack. And, how do you even navigate that? How do you explain that? You have an individual on that team that's a great player that was there for them to get to the Elite Eight, and now they're not maybe getting what that all of a sudden new player transfer coming in is. And so there's just, there's a lot going on, and it's not sustainable in my opinion. And we're gonna have to figure this out over the next 12 months. And you're not going to be able to put the genie completely back in the bottle. The transfer portal is going to remain, and name, image, and likeness is going to remain. But we've got to find a better balance. And we all keep saying, well, the market will self-correct. And I think there's some truth to that. But I think the NCAA, we're going to have to be intentional about, self-correcting some of it as well.
Mack, that kind of leads into the comments from Jack Swarbrick from a few days ago, predicting a split of some sort within the next decade of college athletics, and even going so far as to say, there would be a base of schools that still are basically college athletics programs where education and the school itself is tied in. And then there would be this other group where it's basically like renting the license to the logo and the name, and they're just basically a pro team. I was just curious what your thoughts were on Swarbrick's comments and you just kind of that area of discussion.
Yeah, I think as we're all sitting in the seats that we're sitting in, and we're watching things play out, and we've got the transformation committee in process, and we're trying to figure out whether or not federal legislation is going to happen and that there'll be some protection there in terms of antitrust law, all of that. I think that's where your mind can go, is that there's going to be this separation. I don't think that will be good for college athletics. You think about, the sport of football, college football, and just the impact it has across this country. The Saturdays, the pageantry, the number of games, the way it galvanizes our communities, brings people together. It's not just a game. It's really a celebration, on Saturdays throughout this country. And if we get to a point and place in time where, and this is my personal opinion, obviously, but if we get to a point and place in time where there's only 15 to 20 to 25 of those football games that really matter anymore, I don't think that's good for the sport of football, and I personally don't think it's good for our country and how we think about the future and what it means and how it brings people together. And so, I certainly get, and I have great respect for Jack and his thought process and his opinion, and I'm hoping that's not where it heads.
I don't think there's any doubt, and I know probably need to ask you, but if everybody was raising their hands on, hey, we'd be interested in basically being a semi-pro team, or hey, we want to stick to college athletics, you are firmly in that college athletics camp, because, I think you just said it, that other stuff that maybe people neglect for the money thing, that all matters in the process of just, helping raise human beings, right?
Yeah, I'm again, this is not, saying that I've got it right, or,
sure.
I'm thinking about it, better than anybody else, but I'm in the business of impacting young people and developing young people. And I think if you ask Dave Aranda that question, he would answer it the same way. And I think Scott Thruwood, and I think Nikki Collingwood and Steve Rodriguez and Glenn Moore and Michael Woodson and Joey Scrivano and Mike Ford. Just on down the line, Casey Mack. And I think that's what makes Baylor special. And I think that's why we have the culture that we have. And so that's what we're going to continue to do. And I do really believe this. I think there's going to be a relevant place in the future, college athletics, for us to continue to do what we do.
Mack, I know the Big 12 has come up with a search committee. Do you know any idea? Will the timeline be before Big 12 Media Days, you think, at the end of July, that they'll name somebody?
I do. Now, again, searches have ebbs and flows, and they're a journey. But when you think about mid-July, I would certainly anticipate that we'll have named somebody by then.
Thank you very much. Mack Rhoades, Baylor,
right.
Yes, sir. Baylor Director of Athletics at Sic'Em 365 Radio. I could have followed up by saying, have they contacted you yet? But then that would have ended, like one of those Chan Gailey, that's an ender.
Yeah. I could keep asking him questions all day, just as far as the current landscape of college athletics and, everything there. But I think he kind of hit on pretty much everything that's going on at the moment. But those were very interesting comments from Swarbrick, and I just don't know what the desire really would be for the institutions that feel like they're going to be able to function properly if they just basically rent out a logo. Because to me, the NFL is the NFL, and we see league after league after league trying to duplicate it. Now, college football is on a step above the XFL or the USFL or AAF or whatever, because they do have history. It's there. Everybody knows about it. But, so much of the passion is tied to the school itself, not the team. Although you do have your casual fans or whatever. I don't know. I think college football minus the college part may be able to work better than some of these semi-pro leagues. I don't know that there's really a lot of schools that are interested in that. I guess we'll find that out over the coming years, but I don't know. I have my doubts.
I don't know if a lot of the schools that would have to go with the ones, or like that would be
could
go with the
would,
ones, really would want that if you ask them.
Notre Dame.
They're
gonna get rid of academics? I don't think so.
No. Yeah, everybody wants money. I mean, that's but at what cost? And then like, how much is like enough? I mean, where it's like, look, everything's, before you completely compromise what you're doing and move on in a direction where you better be careful what you ask for, because you have something that's really good right now.
Yes.
You have something that's really good, except for one thing. And I think that's where people mess up. They think that college football fans are mad and they want a complete overhaul. No, all we want is a playoff that makes some GD sense.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
it. One thing.
And it's just amazing that they can't figure that out. Power plays, politics, whatever.
Yeah.
Protecting your own, of course, your conference, which you should.
And here's my thing too, and I've said this before, if there was to be like this offshoot or whatever, like there would be some interesting decisions. Like, Notre Dame, like we just said, with the academic side of it, they're not going to leave that behind anytime soon. You go ahead and throw Stanford in there. Go ahead, you could throw UCLA, a bunch of other schools as well that would be more on the side of remaining more of a college football team versus a football team that uses the college's logo and names and all that. And it's kind of like this idea of the Super League is, somebody's got to be Vandy other than Vandy. Not everybody's going to go 10-2. Like somebody's going to not be what they were at one point in time. And, that's the fear with Texas and Oklahoma leading into the SEC to some extent. But that would, somebody's got to be the Browns. Somebody's got to be the Jaguars. And it doesn't matter how much NIL money you spend, somebody's going to have to lose the majority of games. So, you might be one of those people. It's like, let's get Tennessee in this, elite 32 team, and then Tennessee ends up being the Cincinnati Bengals from years ago.
Or maybe how they've been really for a long time.
Exactly. And so, be careful what you wish for in that regard. But I think, too, what it also does is, it's going to be exciting for Texas and Oklahoma fans, or it's exciting for any college football fan when Auburn plays Oregon, or, USC plays Notre Dame or whatever. But, like, if you branch off, those just become regular games week in and week out. And, yes, your normal rivalry, Michigan or Notre Dame, will still be that special rivalry every year. But the shine of playing Auburn on a regular basis or whatever that's not your main rivals, like, they just become another team, basically. It's not like the big non-con game. It's just your week 3 game.
Compared to the NFL, if you're a Steelers fan, even though you don't play the Colts every year, do you really get all excited about playing the Colts? That's what it's going to be. I mean, like, oh, cool.
They're not going to have a league that is the ultimate at the top level without a Notre Dame involved.
Right.
So they're going to have to come to some sort of, there will be some give and take. There will be some negotiations, but they're not going to go break off with just 24 teams or so. 32, we've heard that number. 64, we've heard that number. There are so many things to get to.
But the point being is like Craig's point is, yeah, you might get excited about that scheduling eventually at first, but eventually it's just the same thing again. And, while you might get to play a team, like if you do an NFL type schedule where every, 8 years you play a team you haven't played in a while, then, oh, cool. But is it that great?
One of the things you like when you're a big boy, blue blood, and you have all the money in the world is the fact that you get to be a bully on occasion. When you do that upper echelon thing, that's not insured. That's not guaranteed. Craig's got off the radar.